Well, hey guys, welcome back to Waters Family Homestead. What I've been doing for the last hour or so is pruning all the fruit trees and blueberry bushes. So basically what I want is to prune off all the older limbs that didn't produce anything. Basically, especially fig trees. Most of your figs come on the new growth, so you can't prune them back too far. So I pruned them back pretty hard. What I'm trying to do is get the limbs that are coming up so it'll grow up and taller and stronger instead of out. So I'm gonna walk around there and show y'all, but I did the same thing to the little apple tree over here. I've left 2 branches that come up from the root ball down there. So hopefully it will grow taller and those branches will get bigger instead of all these little offshoots coming off of it. That's not gonna be strong. So where the chickens are, of course. So that's what I've done. I've pruned it down to those 2 that were healthy, and hopefully they will grow bigger when spring gets here instead of trying to shoot energy to all those limbs that wasn't doing anything. And I've done the same thing here to the blueberry bush. I've cut all the low-lying limbs off, and I've left the 2 best main trunk lines coming up. And over there was 3 that I left coming up. But y'all know I did a complete prune back on my fig trees this year because they had fire blight. I mean my pear trees, because they had fire blight, and they've come back really well. So I expect to get a lot more pears this spring, you know, this early summer, than I did last year because the fire blight just tore it up. So I went to the peach trees who have had, you know, a dozen or 2 peaches on them every year, but they don't come to full grown. They don't survive. So they're getting tall, so I cut the top side of them. I've cut a lot of the little branches off that were really doing nothing but weakening the main trunks there. And basically I left 3 good ones. I wanted to take 1 more off, but I didn't want to kill it. And this nectarine here, I've done that. I cut all the branches off that were running away from the trunk line instead of up. And hopefully it will continue to grow stronger up and produce more or some fruit. So I'm going off the way you do a fig tree. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably pruning it wrong, but some of these trees are much too old to correct completely. But I'm trying to leave the limbs that I want to grow and take the other ones off. So hopefully this tree will get stronger and stronger. Like this tree here has had several damaged places in it. Let me zoom back out. And but if I cut that down, I'm just pretty much gonna kill the tree. So I pruned off a lot of the limbs that I did not want at all. And as this one stalk right here comes up, hopefully this spring, and it grows bigger and better, it, you know, gets stronger and all of that, then eventually I can cut that damaged limb off without killing the tree. So this apple tree right here, you see I did a pretty major prune on it. That limb, this tree's growing 45 degrees. So I cut off the limbs that were growing out at 45 and left the ones going up. And it's still 10 or 12 feet tall. But I'm hoping I left the branches I wanted to get stronger and thicker, and that's where I want my fruit to come from, so it doesn't pull the tree over and down. And this peach tree right here, I did the same thing. I cut that big limb off that's running 45 degrees, left the one that was running up. I wish there was a stronger one down here that I could have left going up, but there wasn't, so I'm doing what I can to try to correct that tree to grow up. And same thing with this little bitty fig tree. Now fig trees for sure, almost all their fruit is off new growth of that year. So I pruned it back and left just 2 stumps there, you know. Hopefully the new growth will come off of it and I'll get a few figs off of it this year. And I went to this fig tree that has produced, you know, fairly well. I've gotten over half a dozen ripe figs off of it. There's 3 in the fridge right now. So, you know, I did not cut any limbs off that had figs on them, but I did cut everything else off because that was the old growth that didn't produce. So what I'm, you know, trying to do is let these figs go ahead and finish growing and ripen. And I've cut a lot of that sideways growth off. So I want these branches here that are, you know, relatively coming up. That will give me a taller bush that I can mow around and take care of a little bit easier. But again, these have been gone for, you know, going for 5, 6, 7 years, maybe 8, without any really serious pruning. So that's making it hard to correct the tree. It may take me a few years to get it there, but I will, if I don't kill it. Now these things, fig trees, love to be pruned because they grow new growth back in the early spring, and all your figs come on that new growth, pretty much all. So you're not going to prune a fig tree back too far. So this apple tree here is the oldest tree in my fruit orchard. Well, it's as old as that apple tree and the blueberry bushes and those pear trees, but this was the first one planted in this corner, and it's never produced an apple. I did get blooms off of it this year. So what I did is I cut all these limbs off that were coming. Well, let me turn around. Let me move to the other side. So this one wants to go 45 degrees, you know, like these other trees. And I cut all the limbs off running that direction and left the limbs that were going up. So hopefully that'll just give the tree time for, because the base of this tree is, you know, 4 inches around. It's a good sized little tree. And I'm hoping it'll get bigger and bigger, these branches going straight up, and then the fruit bearing limbs will come off of those as they grow. So that's my hope, because I haven't gotten any apples off of it. So I didn't touch the pear trees because I've already cut them way back during the summer when that fire blight got in there. So I'm gonna leave them alone. But I did do every other fruit tree out here. I did that nectarine, I did 3 peach trees, I did the 2 apple trees, I did both fig trees, both blueberry bushes. So I've gotten everything except those pear trees. Now I've got to go to the other side of the property where I've got 2 more apple trees and a mulberry tree, and I think there's a peach up there, I'm not sure. But I got to go over there and start pruning them a little bit to hopefully make them want to grow when the spring gets here, to get bigger. And one of them actually produced a little apple the first year I planted it. It wasn't but about, the tree wasn't 2.5, 3 feet tall, but it ended up rotten. Didn't mature good. So I'm gonna go over there. You see all the limbs I got to pick up where I pruned these, and prune those other few trees I've got on the other side of the property. And hopefully springtime comes, I will actually get a lot more fruit this year coming up, because I've done the pruning now while the tree is going dormant, because all the leaves are falling off of most of them. You know, that's when you want to prune a tree, when it's sleeping or dormant, so you're not, you know, shocking it too bad. So when it wakes up in the springtime, I'm hoping these trees will do much better this year. I've still got a few years, like I say, of pruning them correctly to correct the growth and get them to where I want them to go. But at least we've started that path. And I know there's a lot of you out there just like me, plant a tree and leave it alone. But that was not the thing to do. I didn't know any better. So as I've learned this year, following a couple other channels that do this stuff and do it well in my area, I've learned a lot from them, and I'm hoping that works for me. So that's what I've done. Now I'm gonna go to the other side of the property and prune those other 2, 3, 4 trees, whatever it is over there, and call the pruning job done. So today's just been a day of chores for me. You know, I refilled all the nesting boxes with fresh straw, cleaned them out, and then refilled them. I filled up all the feeders. I collected the eggs earlier. I got a dozen, which is a low day for me, but that's okay. The Rhode Island Reds are still dropping 8 eggs every day, every single day. So when I buy more, like I've said before, it's going to be more Rhode Island Reds because they produce better. But the turkeys are doing well. You see one of them's laying up yonder in the corner with a few hens, and there's one down here. So anyway, they're doing really well. I've thrown in some scratch, and what I started today, now I may not continue it, but what I started today is they like to scratch so much. I'm mixing a little bit of layer pellets in with it, and I'm looking at the ground, and they're eating the scratch and leaving the layer pellets. But they didn't leave them all. They ate a lot of it. So hopefully that'll be better for my chickens. You see they're creating their digs here to take their dirt bath. But either way, we've got some cooler weather coming. It's deer season already. My son-in-law is actually back there now hunting. He hunted this morning, and he's hunting again this afternoon. And he had a really good sized fox come through this morning, and he said it was running, it was moving good. So I think I'm going to lock the doors on my chicken coops tonight and keep the chickens locked up for a day or two. So hopefully, if he decides to nose around, he'll decide he can't get to my chickens and move on. Because I know the neighbor 2 or 3 houses down that used to have a lot of chickens and stuff had a fox get there and kill. They let their chickens free range completely, no fence. And the fox killed every chicken they had when I was talking to her about it. So anywho, it's a chore day. I've changed the oil in my truck and filter, and you know, trying to do some maintenance items that I've been needing to do. And I was watching the chickens a little while ago. One of them was chasing a moth that was flying around. So I may try to get some honeybees when spring gets here for the 4th time, because all the other times I've done it, they have not survived. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm not a bee person, but I know I need them for the pollination. So anywho, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to go finish my pruning on the other side of the property. And I've got chores inside that I've been working on, laundry and dishes and all the normal stuff, you know. But hadn't got cold enough yet for their lights to come on in the chicken pen. But I'm going to get off here, guys. I know this will be later in the week when y'all see it. But, you know, we all have chores to do. And those of you in the much colder climates really are probably preparing for the cold that's coming. It's forecasted to be a colder than normal year, which doesn't bother me at all. You know, other than having to work in it, it doesn't bother me. You know, we typically don't get more than a couple weeks of really hard freeze, but we'll see how it is this year. So anyway, I'm gonna get off here, guys. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for listening to me. Please hit the subscribe button if you have not subscribed. Hit the thumbs up. It really helps me grow my little channel, and I really appreciate it. Y'all remember what I always tell you: Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe. Be prepared.